Hi guys, I hope you're well. Pour entraîner votre oreille, je vous propose aujourd'hui une vidéo toute en anglais. Alors, pas de panique, je vais faire exprès de parler lentement, avec mon accent français, de toute façon vous devriez comprendre très facilement. Et on va donc profiter de cette vidéo pour réviser notre géographie.
Now go!
Alright guys, let's start with the world map. The world map, you have different kinds of world maps, okay? Here is an America-centered world map. Alright, so the center of the map is the American continent, right here. See, it's way different from the maps we are used to see at school. Here is another kind of world map centered on Asia and Australia. So you've got Asia here and Australia here. You can also find this continent sometimes called as Australasia. Australasia. Here we are. Australasia is all this continent together here. Okay, so you see it's way different from the map we used to see. You've got the Pacific Ocean right here, so it's a very big empty gap in the middle. It's it changes the perspective you used to have when you look at a map. So let's get back to the kind of map that the people are most familiar with. Okay, the Europe-centered map. So you've got Europe here, okay? Europe is kind of here. So it's a Europe-centered map. The map each of us have seen at school or anywhere else. Alright, so what can we see on the map? What kind of geographical vocabulary we can learn? Well, first of all, you have the continents. You've got the continents here, so you've got the American continent around here. So you've got South America, North America, you've got Central America, you've got Europe here. Just below Europe, south of Europe, you have the African continent here, and of course we've got not Russia, sorry guys, you've got Asia, of course, Asia here, and Oceania in here. Most of Oceania is actually made of Australia. So you've got the continents. Antarctica down there is also considered as a continent. Considered as, okay, not considered like, but to be, we say to be considered as a continent, not like. What else? We've got oceans, of course, oceans. So we've got the Atlantic Ocean right here. That's the Atlantic Ocean. The North Atlantic Ocean, the South Atlantic Ocean. You've got the Indian Ocean, and you've got the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean is the biggest of all. Okay, Pacific Ocean. Pacific Ocean is the biggest or the largest of all. You can find, of course, seas as well. You can find seas as well, like the Mediterranean Sea in here, or the Tasman Sea in there between Australia and New Zealand. The Tasman Sea is located between Australia and New Zealand. You also have the Bering Sea. The Bering Sea is the one located between Russia and Alaska. So you've got Russia here on the top left corner, and you've got Alaska here, which is part of the United States of America, and the Bering Sea is in the middle or between Russia and the USA. What kind of sea? You have the Caribbean Sea. I'm gonna change color. Let's go black. Here is the Caribbean Sea, alright? So that's the sea where you can find all the Caribbean islands. Some islands are actually French, like Guadeloupe or Martinique, for instance. This is a map of Europe. We already spoke about continents, so in this matter here, the only continent we can see on this map is Europe. All right, we can get a closer look on oceans and seas that we already spoke of as well, such as the Atlantic Ocean here, which is west from France, for instance, or the Mediterranean Sea. The Mediterranean Sea is south of France. Okay, so you have north, south, west with a W, and east. Okay, that's the directions you can get. All right, so if we go down from the biggest to the smallest size of, let's say, entities, then smaller than continents, you have obviously countries. Countries are separated from each other. They are separated from each other by borders, like here. Here, this is a border that we have between France and 3 countries, such as Belgium, Luxembourg, and Germany. Just down south, you also have Switzerland and Italy. Switzerland and Italy. And on the southwest side of France, you have the border here, okay, the border between Spain and France. So these are the land borders that France has in common with its neighbors. It's written a little bit tiny, but you can see the capital cities of those countries, okay? Each country has a capital or a capital city. Of course, in France it's Paris here. In Spain, the capital city is called Madrid. In Portugal, it's Lisboa. In the UK, this is London, obviously, and so on and so on. You have Rome in Italy. You have Athens in Greece, in here, and so on. Now, if we keep on digging deeper into geography, we started with continents, and then we saw countries. Okay, in some countries, not all of them, but if some countries, you can find states. Okay, some countries are actually divided into states. For instance, USA are divided into 50 different states. In France, we don't have states, but we have regions, which are themselves subdivided into departments. Okay, departments. So each country has its own way of working. Some of them are divided into states or regions or departments. Well, anyway, into smaller entities that are kind of locally operated with different systems. For instance, in the USA, each state has his own laws. Okay, the laws can be different from a state to another. They have different ways of working, and so on and so on. Now, if we keep going down, if we can keep going towards smaller entities, we find, of course, cities. Cities. Okay, cities are plural. If it's single, it's with a Y. City with a Y. C-I-T-Y. A city. I can say city. City would be the way to say in the UK. In the UK, we would pronounce the T. City. But in the US, we would pronounce it like a D, like city. Can you hear the difference between city and city? All right. So you've got cities. What are the big cities in France, for instance? Of course, you have the capital, which is Paris, but you also have Lille, you have Lyon, you have Marseille, Nice, what else? Bordeaux, Strasbourg, and Nantes, perhaps. I guess that's the biggest cities in France. We could add Montpellier as well, which is quite big, to be fair. And here are basically the biggest cities in France. Then you have smaller cities. It's still called a city, like, I don't know, Nîmes, for instance, okay? Or Cannes, or Amiens. These are quite big cities, but not the biggest, right? They are big cities. I would say below 50,000 people, maybe, I would naturally call it a town instead of a city. Okay, so a town is a small city. Then if it gets even smaller, you can have villages. Villages are probably, I don't know, we would call a village something which with less than 5,000 people, perhaps. So you have cities, lots of people, towns, a little bit less of people, and villages, which are the smallest of all, but quite often the most quaint of all. A village can be quite quaint. Quaint means that it's lovely, it's very colorful, and it has a soul. It's usually a little bit old, with lots of stones and plants, and yeah, it actually looks very nice. People love to take photos of quaint places. It's quaint, it's very lovely. Cities and towns are not very quaint usually. We can say only villages can be quaint. It's a very good word to add to your vocabulary. Quaint. What else can we see on this map? So we can guess a few rivers. Okay, so in French we have this word fleuve and rivière. They have two different words to say rivers. In English we only have one, we say only river. If it's a big river, like the river that goes through Paris, like the Seine, it's still called a river. Okay, or the Rhône, the Rhône here goes down, it goes through Lyon and Valence. It's a river, like a small river that could go through a quaint village. You've got mountains. Yeah, you can see them pretty clearly on the map. The Alps here are world known. Alps are world known. Okay, lots of people go to the Alps for tourism because it's an awesome place to visit. For instance, you have the Switzerland side of the Alps, you've got the Italian side of the Alps, and you've got the French side of the Alps. Okay, so Alps are probably the highest mountains we have in France, but we also have mountains in the southwest on the Spanish border here, the Prenez mountains. Then we also have mountains in the middle in Auvergne. It's actually a mix of mountains and hills. Okay, a mountain is like that, and a hill is more like this, and it's not as high as a mountain. It's all green. Let's do it in green, guys, okay? A hill, it's green. Usually you can have lots of different hills like this on the landscape. So these are hills, and here it's a mountain with the little snow on the top, okay? The little snow here on the top of the mountains. There's never any snow on the top of a hill because it's too low, okay? The altitude is not enough, it's not cold enough for the snow to sustain. Alright guys, so if you find these videos helpful to you, I invite you to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button just below. You can also click on the little bell. The little bell is quite important so you can get notified of the next videos to come. You can also get down below in the description and you'll find a PDF, you'll find a link to download a PDF that I've created for you guys about the traps of English and how to avoid them. It's very rich, there's a lot of methods and advice in this book. Download it, it's worth it. You can also smash the like button. It's always a good feeling to know that you like the content, and don't hesitate to suggest some new ideas or some new themes in the comments down below. That would be awesome. Thanks guys.